the Green Swamp region of Florida. More than 500,000 acres. From wetlands and lush greenery to flatwoods of towering pines, an ecosystem teeming with wildlife. But cutting right through the southernmost part, Interstate 4. Tens of thousands of cars each day, making it almost impossible for animals to cross. Now, the push for connectivity, key to conservation efforts across the state. Jason Lauritsen is the Chief Conservation Officer for the Florida Wildlife Corridor Foundation. We walked with him through Colt Creek State Park in Polk County, part of the Green Swamp.
We are walking in a pine flatwoods, and you got an overstory of pine trees and an understory of saw palmettos, which are a really important food source for Florida's black bears.
Yet Jason tells us there is no bear population in the park. A bit of a mystery, he says, though shows us on the map one major clue.
I-4 comes right up through the center of the state, separating the southern part of the state from the northern part.
Construction began on the highway back in 1958. At the time, Jason says landscape ecology wasn't really practiced yet, meaning the migratory patterns of animals not considered, at least not at the level they are today. Take, for example, the Florida black bear, shown here in video from the FSTOP Foundation, a nonprofit that monitors wildlife activity. These bears leave their habitats as juveniles, striking out on their own in search of new territory. Jason tells us one such bear, collared by researchers in 2009, traveled more than 500 miles before it arrived at I-4.
It appears as though he would have continued north if he could. He spent 4 days bouncing around against the edge of I-4 before finally giving up and heading back south.
Other animals, a worse fate. FWC data shows thousands of bears killed on Florida roads since the late 1970s. And then there's the endangered Florida panther. FWC reports at most only about 230 in the wild today. Last year alone, 21 were killed in vehicle crashes.
And over time, those species will blink out. And the things that we were able to see and enjoy in our backyards and in our state parks nearby won't be there for our children and our grandchildren.
But just down the highway, a plan in action. The construction of a wildlife underpass, where I-4 cuts through the Halachi Wildlife Management Area, part of the Green Swamp ecosystem. Brent Setchell, a design engineer with FDOT, met us out at the site.
So this is the crossing here. It's 61 feet wide. At the opening, it'll have 8 foot of vertical clearance on this side, and over on this side, it'll actually have like a little swale in there to allow aquatic species to be able to go through.
Like this here gator, slowly making his way to the other side, or a family of otters carefully navigating to safety. According to FDOT, there are 70 bridge-style crossings throughout Florida, and the videos from FSTOP prove they work, allowing even bears and the occasional panther to cross. This latest crossing is part of the interchange redesign project at State Road 577, and the third to be built just like it since 2017, when the FDOT design manual was updated, making it a requirement to consider wildlife crossings with every single new bridge design. Setchell showed us how it will work.
All the existing lanes will be removed out of here. They'll be set on the top of the 2 new bridges, so it'll become natural in there. And it'll have the fencing on both sides to keep the wildlife within the corridor and off the roadway.
This aerial footage gives a clearer view of that design. The cars and trucks speeding by will be redirected over the bridges on either side, and the animals will pass underneath, connecting the now divided conservation lands for the first time in more than 50 years. Which brings us back to that need for connectivity, efforts that are critical to wildlife conservation. The state is putting in the work with the help of conservation groups like the Wildlife Corridor Foundation, one of several to provide FDOT with input on the new underpass.
It's important that we, as the public and as conservation organizations, avail ourselves of those opportunities to weigh in and to pay attention and to make sure that we're really taking a look at the larger landscape.
one that's big and wild, stretching north through the Panhandle and south to the Everglades. And right here, at the center of it all, the green swamp of Florida. Kate McVeigh, Spectrum News.